Hey, good evening. It's 7:11 p.m. It is December 19th. It is Thursday evening, and I just wanted to unwind and kind of relax and get my thoughts together. Everyone knows I've been thinking about, my whole issue with cloning and the gang stalking and the trauma that, I I deal with, and I had mentioned several times before that, my thought process is not as free. Like, I don't like to think a lot about the past because it brings up a lot of negative feelings. And I think about the future, and I'm always worried about, encountering perps or whatever, that kind of stuff. And I have to say that, socially things have gotten better for me, and I'm very grateful for that because, I realized what a big operation this was, and, the kind of hatred that was being directed towards me was pathological and very sick, and it caused me a lot of problems. I understand like the whole sticks and stones thing, but when people start, threatening your life, and then it just gets a little bit, out of hand. So, you know, um, I think it's important if somebody like myself and other targeted individuals. I know a lot of targeted individuals talk a lot about their targeting. I know when I first made my channel in 2015. Mainly, I was talking about the injustices that I was experiencing in the workplace, but still, it was always relating to my targeting, me being a targeted individual, going through suffering and whatever. So when people deal with targeting, it seems as though they almost start to become boring to themselves, even because the only thing that they are left to think about is the abuse that they received and the distrust that they have for other people. I mean, this is realistic, okay? Think about somebody who has been a part of a program their entire life. This is completely normal for me to feel this way, all right? So, because I don't really have, other than my projects, that I feel comfortable being excited about. And I'm going to clarify why I say this is because, obviously I devote a lot of my time to my newsletter, and I do Monday Merriment. And then there's my autodidact project that I'm coming up with. And there's a few other projects that I want to explore as well. And after I get done with the autodidact project, but um, like I said, when it comes to things relating to the outside world, this is what it does to people. Some people become so traumatized and so depressed because, I mean, when you think about the negativity, not just the negativity of being a target of a massive cabal hate crime, okay, but it's the fact that, your reality has been distorted. Like, you come to realize that the people that you knew were just pawns, or game players or whatever. It's just a surreal dream that you're left to struggle with, and that's just the way it is. So, I had mentioned before about, reviving the spirit in different ways that you possibly can. And I am a 53-year woman. I am 53-year-old woman. I am not ashamed to say that I enjoy delving into things that seem childlike. Now, I had mentioned before that I was collecting miniatures, and I had purchased this little house, right? This little house. It's like I guess, a curio cabinet. I realized that I do not have room in my apartment to have a full-on dollhouse. So I keep thinking, okay, the best thing for me to do is have like little, like curio cabinets or boxes or little small houses such as this one in different locations in the house. That way, when I'm like, walking down the hallway or whatever, it'll catch my eye and it will kind of lift my mood, right? And of course, I could rearrange the furniture in there. This right now is kind of a temporary setup because, I just got this little cabinet delivered yesterday. I have the plant. The little frog in the chair just also arrived yesterday, as well as the little rug and the little house-shaped box, right? So I put them all together, but I'm going to be taking them out and putting them in their appropriate places because I feel as though the frog should have a television, so I'll put a little television there. And as I go along, I might walk past this little setup in the hallway and say, okay, it'd be kind of cool is to add like this, or maybe add a picture, or throw some curtains on the window. It's for me to constantly keep my mind stimulated and to think about different things other than focusing on what I consider to be negativity. Okay. I feel, yeah, I feel a negative feeling regarding the issue that I live through. Okay, which it is completely normal. Okay, and I think these sort of things give me like a sense of comfort, you know. And I know a lot of people don't understand my methods. I think that one of the reasons why people were picking me apart is because, I'm going to get to the heart of the matter. I'm a different person. I'm a completely different person than the majority of people. I have been digging into my origins, okay? And I had mentioned before in my videos when I first found out that I was Prince Elamé, who, I had thought that the emperor as well as the empress, right, were my biological parents. Now I understand that I have been cloned pretty much all my life, okay? I have been getting some intuitive messages that I wanted to go into and share with everyone. Now, everyone knows that I am a CB Braganza fan. Like, I'm a fan of CB Braganza. I'm a fan of myself of the 19th century. I think it's because I have always loved that time period. I've loved watching television shows that were, placed in that time period. I love the clothing from that time period, even from the rich people who had beautiful clothes to even people who were considered like peasants and poor people. They even had nice clothes, okay, in my opinion, okay. So I've always been drawn to that time period, okay. Growing up, I'm starting to see more and more of who I was and how it plays into my current life as Maria Gordon. But the fact is that, I've been getting intuitive messages that I've never had parents and that my origins are directly from heaven, that I am a spirit being, okay, which I had talked about or suspected for a while, okay. So this is what makes me so special. This is one of the reasons why I've been targeted all my life. I'm a clone too on top of it, but this is one of the reasons why I personally believe that my father was stationed over at Edwards Air Force Base, and then this is, well, whatever. You know what I mean? It just becomes this big federal government deal where people start looking at you, but I think it also got the attention of white nationalists through perhaps maybe religious organizations, and then also filtering down into what they call like good old boy networks like Freemasons and like Odd Fellows and all these secret societies, right? Who turned it into, a lynch mob, basically, is basically what I had lived through. So I wanted to talk about some of my experiences because some of them are kind of like, I deal with like flashback trauma, because I start thinking how one thing related to another throughout the course of my life. And a couple days ago, I was in a conversation about cults. And I wasn't in the conversation for very long, but, I think when I don't know when I started talking about cults, but I talked about cults long before I realized how huge this operation was. And I did talk about, what made it a cult, specifically why it was identified as a cult, and mainly because it was not based on a stable doctrine. Like, we had Mormons after me, we had Jehovah's Witnesses after me, we had Christians after me, Catholics after me. Everybody was being used in this Nazi operation, including Jews, okay, including my black parents, okay. I mean, it was just like ridiculous. This sick, archonic, the demiurge energy left its residual energy for many, many, many generations, okay? So, like I said, it's just like me being Seabury Beganza coming back all over again, living the same kind of drama, as Maria Gordon. But I have made it very clear that, I had tried the Christian denominations before. I remember studying Jehovah's Witnesses. I visited a couple of, born again Christian churches, and really, this is my true feeling, okay, and I've never tried to persuade anybody into changing their religious beliefs, okay. I want to make that very clear. The only reason why I started really talking about my specific issues is because I was a target, right? Okay. I have noticed throughout the years, right? And I know I've studied cults because I grew up interested in the Manson family. Okay, that was one of the first things that interested me when I was a kid. Now, me being the background of like C.B. Briganza, Solomon, okay, King Solomon and whatever, I get the feeling that, you know, I've always been attached to spirituality throughout all my lives, okay? So people like Manson who had a following interest me, okay? Even as a 6-year-old kid, I found this extremely interesting that people would follow this man so blindly, right? Charles Manson has always been a point of intrigue for me, as well as a bunch of other people who led people astray in some way or another. And I think, like, when I think back to certain people who were, who created certain religious doctrines, some of these people might have meant well, but they may have veered off into feelings of greed, maybe a deep need to control. I had talked about sometimes people become autocratic. They want to deviate from the best interest of the flock, and they develop certain perversions because people have lifted them up to a certain position of power. Okay, like for example, like okay, like I use this as an example a lot. Like, you know, that TV show The Brady Bunch, right, where Bobby becomes the hall monitor, right? It's an illustration of how their ego becomes inflated to where they feel as though they have more control than what they really should have, okay? And some people misuse that kind of control within their congregations. Like, for example, Jim Jones. Jim Jones took advantage of a lot of women, okay? And he also took a lot of advantage of a lot of men, too. Apparently, he seduced them. And I am not somebody who, just because I'm not an overly sexual person, I am not somebody who thinks that sex is dirty. I do not think sex is dirty. I am saying that some people who have come on to me in the past, to me, were dirty, okay? And it grossed me out so bad that I would prefer people just not to fucking touch me. Okay, that's just how it is, all right? Because sometimes, you know, I was watching a clip of a video of this particular leader. I believe this particular organization is called The Family. They were real big, I believe, in the 1970s or whatever. Anyway, you know, they were showing this cartoon where there was like this bot, and a bot, like a robot. I guess that's supposed to be his lover, right? The lover had, you know, looked weird, kind of looked like a, what do you call it? One of those, I don't know what you call those little things. They're like those yellow characters that were associated with Pixar and Disney or whatever. I can't think, but it's shaped like that. Okay, the shape of it's like that. Then it's got this long hair ponytail, and then it actually has these breasts that are exposed, right? And it shows the guy talking, you know, touching the breast and all this other stuff, okay? This is supposed to be like a Christian show for children. Okay, that's all I really needed to see, okay? To let me understand that and also prove my point that a lot of people really do not have the understanding of what is appropriate and what is not appropriate, what is good and what is bad, what is wholesome, what is decent, and what is off limits. Okay, now there's a lot of men, and I am not criticizing men. I have nothing against men specifically, but there are a lot of men who have like extreme sexual appetite to the point of where they feel a desire to suppress women. Now, I am a woman who has to work, who has to take care of herself. I have no one. Okay? I literally have no one. So I would say that I'm a good representation of other women. Maybe they didn't fall out of heaven, right, and land on earth. But maybe women in general, you know, who are in similar situations, whether that be abusive situations or whatever, they need to be able to protect themselves, okay? And sometimes religion such as cult-minded religions, okay, could put women in very compromising positions and limit her resources to where she has no help, okay? Now, it's one thing for a religion to believe what they want to believe. It's as long as the person who joins that religion is consults to it. So they're agreeing. They consent to it. They consent to the belief system. They consent to and agree with the sacrifices that they choose to make within that religion. At least that's how it is here and supposed to be established here in the United States. This is one of the reasons why it blew me away that this happened here in this country. Okay. But if that's the doctrine that they choose, that church has every right to choose whatever practice whatever other doctrine, whatever doctrine that they choose to practice. If they believe that women are only meant to have children, like this is one of the things I'm trying to kind of like bring up a little bit. Their only purpose in life is to have children and offspring, right? That's it. And they have to basically obey to be, what do you call it, subservient and not be able to have any sort of protection or any resources, and they are opening themselves up to all kinds of abuse, okay? I'm not saying that, I understand that some people believe that the man is the head of the household. That's all very well and good, but if he's not ruling that house with, love, concern, and guidance, okay, then I would say that he might be leaning towards abusive behavior towards that woman, okay? So that's my feeling on it. And, I found myself getting older and older and older and older. I was married for a while, okay? And then I never considered getting remarried. I realized at the time that I was a targeted individual, which meant that I cannot really trust anybody, okay? I will tell you the pathological people that I've encountered, and it kind of disturbed me because I knew that they were information gatherers. And it made me very uncomfortable, especially because, they wanted to make me a target because I'm a woman who's all by themselves. I'm a woman who, and there's a good reason for that. You know what I mean? There's a good reason for that. I cannot trust people, and there's a lot of women who are running for their lives and they can't protect themselves because we have cults who go beyond the law, okay? They may believe this. You can believe that in your religion if you want to, okay? But when you start enforcing that, and trying to enslave other people, then that's when you cross the line. People who join churches, they join from their own consent. Either whether they were raised in that tradition or they might convert. Maybe this woman's Catholic and she decides to join this Protestant church because she married her husband and they're adapting to this lifestyle. But still, she consented to it. Okay, when it's forced upon you, that is when, you're out of the alignment of how this country was supposed to be established. Okay, and it shocked me, and it still shocked me. This is one of the reasons why I deal with a lot of trauma. Okay, I deal with a lot of trauma because of that. You know what I mean? I think what's terrifying is that women can't protect themselves when you have this sort of thinking. That violates the rights of women. And I'm very grateful to say that, I adhere to the law, meaning like when it comes to issues that deal with the public, society, or whatever, I would say that I reflect on what is established by law. So I never thought that what my lifestyle was out of line with anything, you know what I mean? Because I knew that I could never get arrested for this, okay? Now, I know there's certain people who wanted me to, right? Because I think a lot of times when you're a targeted individual, they want to set you up for all kinds of things. And, the very fact that I was bullied and harassed in the workplace over my clothes, to me that is just like so mind-blowing. Okay, and I kept thinking, what does clothes mean to people? Is it because they are trying to enslave women? It bothered me. It bothered me so bad because it's like the whole thing caused me like severe trauma. But you're probably thinking, well, why did you wear your clothes anyway? Because I knew my rights, and I honestly tell you that my clothes and things that I love and care about, I'm going to stand up for it because I don't have anything in this earth. I have nothing. Okay. I have literally nothing. This whole program has just like plowed through everything, including my emotions, my feelings, and everything. So much to the point that the only thing I can really allow myself to freely think about are inanimate objects, such as this little house here. Okay? So, yeah, it took a lot out of me. A lot. I am not somebody who thinks that, the Christian religion should disappear. I never thought that. I just think that there's a lot of things that go on in the Christian religion that, to me, you know, this is one of the reasons. Okay, I'm gonna just be real. Okay, most of the Christians that I knew in my life were bad examples of Christians, or they set a bad example for just by looking at their lifestyle. The fact that they don't think for themselves, that's a problem. That's a huge problem for me. And, you know, I realize that some of the things that I feel kind of sorry for my oldest sister, because when I look back now, I see how abused she was. You know what I mean? And she really didn't have anybody to turn to either. You know what I mean? But oh well, you know. Um, I'm somebody who just believes in peace. You know what I mean? I'm a very peaceful person. I think I focus mostly on myself. And this is one of the reasons why I believe that most humans bicker among themselves, is because they're always focused externally on, you know, anything but themselves. When really they should, the only person who's really going to fulfill their needs is themselves. You know, and just because I know this is one of the reasons why I have such tremendous inner strength. You know what I mean? I was thinking today how much I am not happy, the low standards of society. Like, I feel this 100% in my bones. I feel as though society is almost like backwards in a way. Okay, in behavior, in the choices that they make, and how they resolve issues. You notice, I don't like the fact that Christianity allows isms to creep into their spiritual practices or their belief systems to the point of where it oppresses somebody. And I feel as though, you know, when it comes to humans in general, okay, and this is one of the reasons why we have the law, okay, because, you know, like I said, laws are created to prevent or reestablish things that are expected to happen in nature. It's expected for people to act belligerent. It's expected for people to do bad things. So there's a law, there's guidelines. Like I talked a few nights ago, or was it a few nights ago? I think it was on Monday Merriman or whatever, about how Solomon was given the gift of understanding how to rule people. And even as Maria Gordon, I am good at understanding psychology, and I understand how laws apply. Okay, these are the foundations of how to rule society. You know, when people try to inject religion into government, unfortunately, people take it as let's us versus them thing. And then this is where the isms get in. When I say isms is racism gets thrown into it, sexism gets into it. When you tell a woman that all she's good for is to create children, don't get me wrong, okay? Obviously, if people want to build up society, they're going to have children, okay? I have always thought, when I was a little kid, what I wanted is I wanted a family. I used to play with baby dolls all the time. Couldn't wait to have a baby, okay? And I'm very grateful that I have a son, okay? And I think family units are ideal. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Sugar Cubs, but I made a video on the Sugar Cubs. I found the Sugar Cubs a few years ago on Facebook, and I thought they were super cute, right? They're like these little chubby teddy bear type people. And I made this little video based on how I thought romance and love was when I was growing up, right? Mom, dad, they get married, they have children, and they're all so happy and all this other stuff, right? So it's not that I don't think that people should have families, okay? But I'm just saying is not everybody is well equipped to. You know, I had mentioned there's women who ended up killing their children because the pressure of the outside people telling her what they expected of her, okay? And deep down inside, she knows she cannot handle that, okay? Not just because you have the organs to have children doesn't mean that you're going to be a fit parent. You know, I know that my mom, you know, she's my adoptive mom, okay? My adoptive mom. I do believe that when she first was dating my father, because I read her love letters, right? Totally different person. She was filled with hope, all this optimism, lots of romance, just so excited about starting life, you know, and that was not the woman that I experienced. Okay, what I experienced was somebody who was unhappy with herself and was very quick to lash out her anger on other people, you know, all because she was unhappy. And to think that she really didn't have a lot of resources. And I would say a lot of times back then, a lot of women were, it was kind of controversial for women to even have jobs or take care of themselves or whatever. But anyway, I'm rambling on. I just had some thoughts I wanted to share. I was just thinking deeply, and, I feel angry because I had no way of defending myself in this issue. Like, for years growing up, I was mistreated by people, gossiped about, plotted against, threatened, you know what I mean? All of this for something I had no control over. And I was being harassed by the same people who created me. Now, that makes no sense, right? Like, it makes no sense because why you're going to create somebody who that you look upon as an enemy, and then, like, hate on me. I don't even know, I wasn't even aware of the fight. You know what I mean? I wasn't even, there's no way I could have possibly even imagined that, So anyway, looking out throughout my life and the past and stuff, it can be a real downer. You know what I mean? It can be a downer. And, there's a lot of times where I get burnout thinking about, and don't get me wrong, I mean, I love the whole CB Braganza thing. I do. There's times where I'm just like, really like, oh, I want to know more about CB, and I'll bust out the cards, which everything that I've learned in the last few weeks about CB, I'm using this for my newsletter. So I'm not going to go too deeply into CB, but the more I start thinking about it, I'm like, wow, I can't get over how much we're like. I did get confirmation from the cards that, yeah, CB did work as a mortician, but I will go more into that in the newsletter. And it's funny because as a teenager, I really wanted to work as a mortician. You know what I mean? I really, really wanted to work as a mortician. And it's not because me being morbid. It's just the fact that I thought it was beautiful for people to depart from the earth. I thought it was beautiful that they were finally getting rest. They were finally going home from all of this horrible nonsense. And that from 16, I knew that death was a place of comfort, or at least I thought of it that way. But as I come to understand the whole issue of cloning, right? The whole issue of cloning and the abuse of what people deal with, or the setups of abuse that you go through as a clone, I would say that, heaven now is really the ultimate reprieve, right? So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video. I think I've talked enough. I will be rearranging the furniture setup in here. I'm thinking about adding a little TV for the little froggy, which I think is really cute. His little face is super chubby. He's so cute. And I'm going to be taking that little cabinet out and moving it into another curio cabinet. I plan on filling it with books and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a way of healing. You know what I mean? It's a way of healing for people who might go through the same thing. I know a lot of targeted individuals talk about them not having anything to think about or talk about. They talk about their targeting all the time. This is, if you feel as though you don't have anything else to talk about, because, let's face it, the people you used to know turned against you. Okay? So sometimes that makes everything pleasant. The family that you thought you knew, they were pathological and were against you. It's just sick. The whole thing becomes sick, right? So you need something to move your mind. You need something to focus on. You need to keep going, okay? So this is one idea. Maybe you can do better. Maybe you can make some really nice curtains for a shadow box or something. Anyway, we just got to keep on dredging on. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and sign off this video, and I'll be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye-bye.